Found another movie to watch. The 47 Ronin. Not the Keanu Reeves movie that came out a few months ago, although that does look like it could be a lot of goofy fun. No, this is a older movie from 1941. Let's read the description here, shall we? 47 samurai avenge the death of their lord. That's it. That's the entire description, and this is part 1 of 2. Part 1 is almost 2 hours. I would imagine part 2 is at least an hour and a half. So we're looking at more than 3 hours of movie that they could only wrangle one short sentence for a description. Let's check it out and see how it is. I'll see you at the intermission. 47 samurai avenge the death of their lord. Not in part 1. Part 1's almost 2 hours long, and that very short sentence description of the entire film doesn't quite apply yet. Their lord does die, and there's more than 47 of them. There's like 51. Maybe they lose a few eventually. This movie suffers from one major flaw. And that major flaw could very possibly be me. I'll explain. In the beginning, Lord Asano and Lord Kira are at the Shogun's castle for some ceremony thing. And Lord Kira is verbally and publicly berating Lord Asano for botching the ceremony, for not knowing the proper etiquette, and making an ass of himself and everyone else by being a bumbling, blowharding boob. He says, "If only Lord Asano had just asked me what the proper protocol is, I would have told him, and he wouldn't have been a bumbling boob." Well, Lord Asano doesn't take kindly to this public berating, stands up, and chases after Lord Kira. Now, he's wearing ceremonial dress, some ceremonial robe type thing, which has pant legs that extend about 4 feet past his feet. So when he walks, each foot is dragging several feet of fabric behind it. So he walks in that really awkward way that dipstick teenagers who sag their pants down to their mid-thigh walk. You know how they kind of rock back and forth as they walk and are constantly holding up their pants to keep them from falling down. This guy's trying to chase after Lord Kira without tripping over his stupid pants. And it's pretty goofy looking. Especially since a lot of the acting is really overblown. Most of the characters in this movie go from... and to be fair, in most Edo-era Japanese film that takes place in the Edo era. Of course, there was no film back then, but the characters tend to go from completely stoic to releasing all emotion that they've ever had, ever, at once. They're like this, and then suddenly... It's like, goodness, sir, please, control yourself. Anyway, Lord Asano, so offended by being verbally talked down, draws his sword and attacks Lord Kira, and runs after him. This is a drama, but it really looks goofy, especially to modern eyes. With his little pants dragging along the ground behind him. this is bad for two reasons. Number one, you're attacking someone with a sword. That's uncool. Number two, they're actually at the shogun's castle. And if you don't draw your sword on the shogun's front lawn, that's an attack against the shogun. That's, you don't do that. Even if you have a personal grudge with someone else, you take it outside the castle, or that's an offense against the shogun. So this is doubly bad. So they drag Lord Asano away. And they're like, dude, Asano, buddy, what the hell was that all about? And he says, nothing against the shogun, just a personal grudge between me and Kira. And they're like, oh, well, what's this personal grudge? And I'm like, yeah, this would be an important plot point. And he goes, it doesn't matter now. And I think, oh, maybe we'll learn it later. Spoilers. Spoilers for a 75-year-old movie. 73-year-old movie. No, you don't. So, Lord Asano, the lord of the Asano group, all his followers, all his samurai, find out that he has been sentenced to commit seppuku, or translated harakiri, for whatever reasons. Basically, ritual suicide, you disembowel yourself. So, the ruling is for attacking Lord Kira and doing that on the shogun's front lawn, you have to commit suicide today. And all of Asano's men are like, what? That's outrageous. He has to commit suicide today? They don't really seem to be upset by the fact that he has to commit suicide, just that he has to commit it today. I guess Asano's stature would normally require that at least a day go by. I really don't know, but that seems to be what they're most upset over. And they're like, golly, well, what was Lord Kira's punishment? The guy that Lord Asano attacked. And he wasn't punished at all. And they're like, no punishment? Our lord attacked another guy who, granted, was verbally berating him in public, which is uncool, but on the shogun's grounds, and the guy he attacked isn't punished at all? What the hell, man? How is that even fair? I'm wondering how that's not fair. The movie really plays up that Lord Kira is the bad guy, and he's like the low of the low. Real despicable, repugnant human being. The populace appears to be totally on the Asano group's side, and they're like, yeah. Word reaches them that even the Emperor himself is like, it's a darn shame that Lord Asano did not succeed in killing that jackass Kira. And I'm sitting here watching the movie going, why? Other than be kind of a douche and berating the guy in public, what did he do? Did I miss that part? I may have. They may say it, and I may have been picking my nose or something and missed it. Or it's possibly just some historical thing that's so ingrained in Japanese culture that any Japanese person watching this film in the 40s would know exactly who Lord Kira is and why he was a scumbag and deserved to die. Anyway, so Lord Asano's group, the 47 or so, Ronin, are planning to kill Lord Kira. They're taking their time. But the movie is at least engaging enough to me to make me want to watch part 2 and see where this goes and how. I've kind of lost hope that I'll actually learn why Lord Kira is such an awful person. But, time for part 2. This appears to have been 2 movies. I'm pointing at my TV. I thought it was one long movie with an intermission. It appears to be two separate movies, 47 Ronin and 47 Ronin Part 2. Which is kind of odd because the first one doesn't really work by itself as a full movie. But the second movie starts with full credits again. So I'm guessing these were separate releases, which surprised me. I didn't realize that. I'm going to read you the recap at the front of the movie because it kind of illustrates my major problem with the film. It says, let me mute my TV here so you don't have to hear me and the Japanese text. There we go. Okay. In March of the 14th year of Genroku, 1701, inside the shogun's castle, Lord Naganori Asano of Akko drew his sword and wounded Chief of Protocol Yoshinaka Kira. Lord Asano was ordered to commit harakiri, and his domain was confiscated, while Lord Kira received no chastisement whatsoever. Why would he? I don't get it. Lord Asano loses his temper and goes after this guy, and then everyone's like, okay, Lord Asano's in trouble, but why isn't the guy he attacked in trouble? I must have missed it, because this movie doesn't tell you why Lord Kira is such a schmuck. Everyone hates him. In fact, there are people in high government offices that have heard rumors of the 47 Ronin that are going to kill Lord Kira. And they indirectly do what they can to assist in this endeavor. Why? What? I feel as though I am missing vital need-to-know information. Input! Input, Stephanie! Input! Even at the end of the movie where the 47 Ronin succeed in killing the guy and they're ordered to commit seppuku, the guy's like, and you will disembowel yourselves and spill your guts on the Shogun's front lawn. So says the Shogun, see? And then he goes, off the record, Lord Kira's son has been fired and shamed and stripped of his title and had all of his assets seized and has been kicked out of his house, and now he's gonna live out his miserable days in the gutter and filth. And all the 47 Ronin are like, what the hell did he do? It's really hard to get behind the heroes of this story when you don't really understand why their quest is so gosh darn righteous. Interestingly, the first half an hour of Part 2 takes place before the end of the first movie. It turns out, for reasons that would take too long to explain, that the good guys are waiting for the powers that be to rubber stamp something. There's a request in to restore the House of Asano. Now, if that happens, their quest to kill Lord Kira will no longer be righteous. Just take my word for it. But if they refuse to restore the house, then they can go kick Kira's keister. So, the end of the first movie, you guys pacing back and forth, and oh, what's going to happen? The whole thing revolves around this! Of course, there would be no second movie if, they didn't say no, if they said yes. So, there would be no second movie if they agreed to restore the Asano house, so they're not going to. But anyway, so the messengers come in and we've got news! And it's like, what's the news? And it's like, no! And it's like, yes! Because now we can go kill Kira and it'll be totally righteous, dude. And that's where the first movie ends. Now, the second movie kind of shifts focus to some other people who are worried about, should I rubber stamp this? It focuses on the person in charge of denying or allowing the restoration of the Asano house. And he's having a crisis of conscience because he knows if he approves this thing, then killing Kira would no longer be righteous. Here's another guy in government office that really hates this Kira guy for reasons that I have no idea. But he's like, man, I really should say yes, but I want to say no, because if I say yes, it kind of screws up the plot of the movie. And so there's another guy who's like, oh man, he's totally going to say yes and screw this up. I'm going to have to, kill Lord Kira before this happens, and it's still a righteous thing. So it's like... So you have this whole tense sequence. It's like in Inglourious Bastards, the Tarantino movie, where you have two operations working towards similar goals in the same place, and they don't know of each other, and they're going to kind of screw with each other, and you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen? Same kind of deal here. He's like, I gotta kill Kira, and it's like, no, you shouldn't kill him, because I'm actually going to say no, and I'm gonna, I got the wrong guy, and if I can... It goes all over the place, and it's incredibly tense, and it would really work if the last movie didn't end with the answer. We already know what happens. We saw the previous movie. So it dramatically doesn't work at all. No matter how well it's actually executed, it doesn't work. At all! Unless you've never seen the first movie and just started with this one, then I guess it's pretty nail-biting. So anyway, all goes well, and about half an hour into the movie, we're where we left off in the first movie. So they're like, alright, we get to kill Kira. It then switches to the house of Lord Asano's widow, his wife. And it stays there for a while. And she gets a letter, and it's from the 47 Ronin. And it's basically a letter that describes the raid on Kira's house and how they chased him all around and killed all the guards and found him hiding in a cupboard somewhere and pulled him out and weren't sure that it was him, but they could tell by the scar on his back that Lord Asano left when he attacked him in the first place that was truly the guy, and they killed his ass! We don't get to see it, we get to hear about it in a letter. Now, to the movie's credit, this is actually performed really well. Kudos to this actress who's sitting there reading this scroll, because I'm like, and then, wow, that sounds totally awesome! Too bad we didn't get to actually see it in this movie. I know it's based on a play, but that might have been something you would have wanted to show in a movie. It's kind of weird that it just, the whole thing that we've been building up to for 3 hours just happened off screen, and now we're hearing about it in a letter. Okay. So the next scene, they're all 47, apparently no casualties. Although maybe they did lose one guy, because from then on it's 46 Ronin. So maybe one guy died. Don't know. But they go to their Lord Asano's grave with the head of that dastardly Kira. And they plop it down, and they're like, oh, thank goodness we've defended your honor, and now we must turn ourselves in to the capital and to the government and state and city and province, whatever, and face our punishment. And at this point, there's over an hour left of the movie. So, what do you do for the last hour of the movie? You add more stuff. It turns out that one of the 47 Ronin, whom we were never introduced to before, was scouting out the residence of Lord Kira for the eventual raid. And how he got close to the place is he wooed a local person's daughter, and they fell in love, and they got married, but he had to ditch her on the wedding day to do the raid on Kira. We don't get to see any of this, we just hear about it after the fact, when the bride who is ditched at the altar comes to the place where they're sitting because they're all about to disembowel themselves. They're all ordered to commit seppuku. So, she comes and she's like, let me see Jubei or whatever his name is. I can't remember his name. One last time. I need to know if he really loved me. And everyone watching the movie is, who the hell is this woman? And it's like, oh, I'm the girl that this one guy, that Jubei, I'm just going to call him Jubei, that Jubei did that. I'm like, who's Jubei? Oh, he's one of the 47 that we haven't been introduced to in the last 3 hours of movie. It's actually an interesting subplot. It's just kind of weird that it's completely tacked on at the very end of a very long movie. And I mean that. It's actually really emotional and involving, and the actors play it really well, and the music works, and it's like, this is really, you know? But it's just kind of weird because it's tacked on to the end of the movie. It's like you could have just ended the movie. I mean, this is it feels like a deleted scene. A really long one. Anyway, Jubei shows up, and it turns out that he really did love her after all. That's so sweet. And then he kills himself along with the other 45 Ronin. And she kills herself too. It's a feel-good movie. I still don't understand why Lord Kira is a bad guy and deserving of any comeuppance, but I either just completely tuned out when that was introduced in the movie, or I'm just going to chalk it up to my own ignorance of Japanese history and culture. So what I think of the movie? It's okay. It's got a lot about it I like. I think it's, as a film, it's really messy and jumbled. It doesn't really work as a film. Or as two individual movies. But I thought it was worth watching. I'll never watch it again, but yeah, it's okay. So, what am I going to watch on Hulu now? I don't know. I still keep thinking I'm going to watch Eraserhead, but David Lynch, man, I haven't enjoyed anything I've seen of his. Maybe I'll give it a try. I thought I'd watch Bob's Burgers, because I keep hearing things that the show is so amazingly awesome, you must watch it! But, the art style really doesn't appeal to me. And I hate to be that petty, but, I looked it up, and Hulu only seems to have episodes from season 4, and I don't want to start in season 4, I want to start at the beginning, so I'll probably skip that one. I don't know, I'll find something to watch. Y'all take care. And if you go punch somebody in the face, if someone pisses you off, and you're like, you sir have offended me, I punch you in the face, and you get arrested for assault, I dearly hope that the person you punched for no good reason gets their comeuppance too. Toodles.